Hi, my name is Kelly Maraz, and I am your General Music PLC lead for the Georgia Department of Education. The topic of today's video is improvisation in the general music classroom, strategies for grades kindergarten through third, so our youngest learners. The first thing we need to talk about when we're talking about improvisation is that you need to create a safe climate in your classroom. So this starts with welcoming all suggestions, as long as they're appropriate. So in our classrooms, we need to welcome all children's voices, whether they're participating with suggestions that we would expect or not, because they are all coming to us with different experiences. And so welcoming all suggestions and being able to turn them into ideas for musical improvisation is a great way to encourage that with your students. With our youngest learners, improvisation through play can be a very fun and engaging way for them to learn. And we know that children do learn more effectively through play. So this could be something as simple as getting a few supplies from a store about gardening and having the students improvise what it is to plant a garden while other music is playing, or maybe the students are providing the music on xylophones set up in a pentatonic scale. Maybe they're using unpitched percussion to add music to this play scenario. And you can think of lots and lots of different scenes that students would like to act out. You can use puppets, characters, books to encourage improvisation. So I brought my puppet today, and this is Bob. Now all my kids know Bob. This is Bob. And Bob only sings, so he helps my youngest students find their singing voice. Good morning, everyone. And then I will ask open-ended questions with Bob. What did you do over winter break? Or what's your favorite thing about recess? And students will sing to Bob when they will not sing to me. And a lot of times, if they want to give me a long, flowy answer with lots of explanations, I will let them, because they will be improvising vocally, and it is safe for them because they are singing to my lovely puppet, Bob. I have created a culture with Bob. If you're going to use puppets, it's important that you create that culture so students will buy into it. For example, they're all allowed to pet him. He eats Pop-Tarts, so I have empty boxes of Pop-Tarts in my room. So again, if you're going to do this, make sure that you're committing, because your commitment will encourage them to commit to the improvisation. You can also use books, especially silly books that are filled with lots of movement ideas or acting out silly scenarios. And what this does, much like the puppet, is it takes them outside of their own self and they're focused on the character or the scenario in front of them. And so if you can find a book that would work for that, a lot of times I will set up the xylophones in a pentatonic scale again and let the students improvise just anything they want that goes along with the story, as long as we're using appropriate xylophone technique. We can also talk about rhythmic improvisation, even with our K-3 learners. And since we're talking about younger learners, I'm mostly talking about simple meter improvisation using quarter note, paired eighth, and quarter rest. Now, even if your kindergartners are not looking at these notes yet, you might not have labeled them, they are still able to improvise in these rhythms. First and second and third grade, you're probably looking at them and labeling them. So I have here some rhythmic building blocks that I created, obviously for October time, but you could do this with anything. And these are the basic rhythmic building blocks that you can use to structure your improvisations. I also have a set of these with different cartoon characters, superheroes, all kinds of different contexts. So what you can do is ask them to choose two. Provide them a steady beat on a drum or with body percussion. So if I do this, all right, when I say go, you're going to say two of these blocks. Ready, go. Black cat, jack-o'-lantern. Okay, let's pick two different ones. Skeleton, boo. You're not giving them time to write it down or plan it out. You're just letting them improvise vocally. They can then transfer that to body percussion or instruments. When you get to older grades, second or third grade in this case, because we're focusing on K-3, you can also start to teach question and answer phrasing. So questions, we don't want to sound finished. So you want to pick something that sounds like it's not finished. Answers should sound finished. So if the question is, skeleton, jack-o'-lantern. The answer might be jack-o'-lantern boo. Or you can just do this with body percussion. So you could improvise questions and answers. You want to start with lots of echoing, right? So we're echoing body percussion in kindergarten, first and second grade. By the end of second grade, maybe 2 or 3 different levels of that body percussion, snap, clap, pat, or stomp. And so after the echoing is solid, you can start to have them come back to you with answers, like a call and response situation, but question and answer is what we're going to call it in the improvisation world. So if I clap this, they're not allowed to clap that. They have to clap something else. Be careful, because sometimes what will happen is you'll clap something, and they'll do the same thing but on a different level. That's not really improvisation because it's the same rhythm. So you want to make sure when they're responding to you that they are not copying your rhythm. They can take parts of it. Maybe they want to copy the beginning or the end, but they should change something about the rhythm. You can also do question and answer with movement, which I find is also a good way to kind of introduce that concept. So, you know, if I have a scarf and I wave the scarf back and forth real high, how could they respond to that with something similar but not the same? So maybe they wave the scarf real low, or maybe they wave the scarf and turn around, or maybe they wave the scarf up and down. So they really are starting to think, how can I turn this material into something of my own? And again, this would be for your middle elementary kids, so second, third, fourth grade. Kindergarten and first, you're just building that vocabulary. Speaking of movement improvisation, here are some ways you can kind of encourage those movement skills. You can use scarves or ribbons. I like to use those in my classroom, and they're pretty cost affordable. I actually borrowed some from my PE teacher when I needed some extras before I was able to buy them. So you might want to ask around your building, and who knows who has scarves or ribbons lying around. So a couple of ways you can do this. You can find an instrumental piece that lends itself well to a story, analyze the form, and then have students create the movement. So find a classical piece you like, a jazz piece you like, something that doesn't have words. Listen to it, label the form for yourself, and either think of a story yourself, or maybe you associate that music with a particular story, and then have the students create the movement to tell the story. Can you use props or objects as different things? So I have a hand drum here, and I do some lessons where we pretend the hand drums are different things. So maybe we drive it like a car, or we wear it like a hat, or it's the sun or the moon. And the children will come up with a million ideas that you won't. They are so creative. And if you create that safe climate, the ideas will just pour out of them. And then you've got a starting place. Can you tie this to that instrumental piece you want to improvise with? Are we improvising rhythms on the drum, and then we're using it to help tell the story? We're just trying to expand their creative possibilities. And again, using characters and stories for improvising. This gets them out of their own head. So this provides the safety and the context that they need to really feel good about improvising in your classroom. And then, of course, we're building that vocabulary. So if we take those 3 concepts, safety, context, and vocabulary, your students will be able to improvise in a more consistent and exciting way, really, in your classroom. So these were just some specific strategies you can use with your younger learners when it comes to improvisation. I look forward to the discussion that we're going to have on the forum about this, for you to share your great improvisation strategies with your youngest learners, and maybe to ask questions about how we can help our students with this really, really important skill. Thank you, and we'll see you for the next one.